Welcome back to the county seat. Transparency in government. That's the way things are supposed to work. We elect leaders, we hold them accountable by knowing what it is that they're doing. In the 1990s, we wrote the GRAMA Act, Government Records Access Management Act, to clarify the ground rules for getting information, documentation, and records of elected officials so that we can monitor what they're doing in our behalf as our representatives. But the problem is electronics has changed, and now that line between public person, public records, and your right to know, and individual privacy is starting to become an issue. Here with the story on GRAMA is Terry Wood.
In a democratic society, the more information the public has, the better to choose between one candidate or another, or to understand the merits of new legislation. In Utah, there are laws in place that allow citizens and news organizations to access government records, including electronic communications, all to let the public know what their elected officials are doing on their behalf. The Government Records and Management Act, better known as the GRAMA Law, was passed in 1991 and opens government records to the public. If you want to access the email records of an official while they were working on city, county, or state business, you have the right to those records.
Access is the key word there, that it is based on a belief, and it's a sound belief, that you get better government if you have records available for everyone to be able to see, all the citizens to be able to see.
It's understandable then that when in this last legislative session, lawmakers passed a bill that would limit that access in a few key areas, the public and media outcry was fierce. The question the bill attempted to answer was simple.
What I say or do on my own private cell phone in the form of text messages, voicemail, and things like that, is that a public record? And that's basically what the legislature was trying to do in this change in the GRAMA law, was say there are conversations which I have with my wife, with my family, with constituents that they would like to remain private.
HB 477 would have gutted GRAMA. It would have removed key provisions and essentially changed the dynamic to one of wanting to open up to one of closing up.
The evolution of technology has presented several new questions for governmental record keeping. Emails sent by lawmakers and public leaders were added to the GRAMA law and are now considered public record. But at what point does something like a text message sent by phone move from public to private? That's what House Bill 477 set out to determine. The bill excluded as public record instant messages, text, video chats, and any communication by a government officer outside their duties. Reporters and media outlets can apply for government records through the GRAMA Act and then pass that information along to the public. Without such information, the opportunity for corruption is there. However, for the counties, the issue is not just privacy, but finances as well. Retrieving documents for GRAMA requests cost money. If the request is frivolous, it merely strains already thin county budgets.
You can go in and make a GRAMA request for anything, for any reason. The question is what's the object? If the object is to keep the public better informed and to provide information for the public good, even under the current law, the cost would be dealt with by the entity who received the request. But if it was just for some individual to go in and research a record for their own interest, why should the public have to pay for that?
House Bill 477 has been repealed and is currently in committee to see if part or all of it will eventually become law. Deciding where the line is drawn between personal information and public information will continue to change as technology evolves. What will not change is the need for transparency in order to foster trust between citizens and their government.
The burden should be on making it as open as possible, basically.
And everyone likes the process to be available to the public because we're doing the public's business. Is GRAMA intended to be a process by which anybody can go in and try to find out information about any elected official and use that as a way to create, problems for that individual.
Admittedly, it is a balancing act, particularly for elected officials who are part-time and still want to have a private life. Are they part public? Are they totally public? Are they part private? Where is the line? Well, that's the topic of our roundtable discussion coming up. For the county seat, I'm Terry Wood.
Thanks, Terry, for bringing us up to speed. The GRAMA law will be the topic of our roundtable discussion today, and joining us in the studio will be
Linda Peterson from the Salt Lake Valley Journal and from Doug Heaton, Kane County Commissioner, right here on the county seat. We'll be right back.